Most people think $30,000 only buys a small plot of land, but in a handful of countries, that same money can buy farmland and help open a legal residency route. Sometimes the land itself supports the visa. Sometimes it works through a company, investor structure, or proof of local ties. But the strategy is the same. Use affordable farmland as the anchor for a second life abroad. These are 7 countries where 30K Farmland can still play a real role in residency in 2026. Starting with the easiest South American route, Paraguay. Paraguay is the first country on this list, and there's a very good reason it comes first. This is arguably the single easiest residency route in all of South America, and the farmland prices here are almost absurdly low. $30,000 in Paraguay can buy roughly 15 to 60 hectares of agricultural land, depending on the region, the soil quality, and how far from major cities the property sits. To put that in perspective, 60 hectares is about 148 acres. That is not a garden. That is not a hobby plot. That is a legitimate agricultural operation waiting to happen, and that is the key with Paraguay. The farmland is not the visa. It is the asset that makes the residency story feel real. The fertile eastern regions near the Brazilian border tend to be more expensive, but even there, land prices remain a fraction of what comparable acreage would cost in North America, Europe, or even neighboring countries like Brazil and Argentina. But here is where Paraguay gets truly interesting. The residency pathway does not even require the land purchase itself. Paraguay offers one of the most straightforward residency programs on the planet. The primary requirement is a bank deposit of approximately $5,000 into a Paraguayan bank account, along with standard documentation like a clean criminal background check. The process typically takes a few months, and once granted, permanent residency is exactly that. Permanent. There is no requirement to live in the country full-time, no minimum stay per year in practice for maintaining the residency, and no complicated renewal process that trips people up. This is the trade-off across the whole video. The cheapest farmland is not always the cleanest visa route, and the cleanest visa route is not always the cheapest land. The cost of living in Paraguay is remarkably low. A comfortable lifestyle in cities like Asunción can run between $800 and $1,200 a month. In smaller towns and rural areas, that number drops even further. Groceries, utilities, and everyday expenses are a fraction of what they cost in Western countries. Paraguay also operates a territorial tax system, which means income earned outside the country is generally not taxed. For anyone building an online business or earning remotely, that is an enormous advantage. The major catch with Paraguay is infrastructure. Rural areas can have limited road access, inconsistent electricity, and minimal internet connectivity. This is not a plug-and-play situation. Anyone buying remote farmland needs to budget for improvements and should visit the land personally before purchasing. Legal due diligence is also critical because title disputes do exist, especially in more remote zones. Now, before moving on to the next country, here's something worth knowing. There is one country later in this video where the farmland is so cheap and the residency setup so business-friendly that it has become one of the most popular destinations for expats worldwide. Paraguay is the low-cost residency benchmark. But the next country offers something different. Farmland that can already be productive from day one. Colombia. Colombia has quietly become one of the most exciting countries in the world for agricultural investment, and the numbers tell the story. In Colombia's famous coffee-growing regions, farmland typically runs between $5,000 and $15,000 per hectare. That means $30,000 can realistically buy between 2 and 6 productive hectares, potentially including land that is already cultivated with coffee, cacao, avocado, or tropical fruit trees. Already productive land is a game changer because it means potential income from day one, rather than waiting years for crops to mature. Colombia's residency options for foreign investors are well established. The investor visa, sometimes called the M-type visa, is available to those who make qualifying investments in Colombian property or businesses. A $30,000 land purchase could contribute toward meeting these thresholds, though the exact requirements do shift periodically. There is also the business formation route, where establishing a Colombian company tied to agricultural operations can support a residency application. Colombia has been actively encouraging foreign investment in its agricultural sector, and the infrastructure around these programs has become increasingly professional. The cost of living varies dramatically depending on location. Medellin and Bogotá are more expensive, but smaller cities and rural towns in the Coffee Triangle remain very affordable. A single person can live comfortably on $1,000 to $1,500 a month in many areas. The country's climate diversity is a massive advantage for agriculture. Colombia spans multiple climate zones from tropical lowlands to cool highlands, meaning an enormous variety of crops can be grown across different regions. The catch in Colombia is navigating local regulations and ensuring clean property titles, particularly in rural areas. Some regions have complicated land histories tied to past conflicts. Working with a reputable local attorney who specializes in rural property transactions is not optional. It is essential. Security has improved dramatically across most of the country, but certain remote areas still require careful assessment. Colombia gives you productive land. The next country removes one of the biggest risks in Latin America: currency. Ecuador is the next destination, and it brings something to the table that none of the previous countries offer: a dollarized economy. Ecuador adopted the United States dollar as its official currency back in the year 2000, which eliminates currency risk entirely. For anyone earning in dollars, there is no exchange rate to worry about, no currency devaluation eating into savings, and no conversion fees chipping away at purchasing power. $30,000 in Ecuador can buy roughly 6 to 15 hectares of farmland, depending on the province. The coastal lowlands and parts of the Amazon basin tend to be cheapest, while the highland regions and areas near major cities command higher prices. Ecuador grows an astonishing range of agricultural products. Bananas, cacao, roses, shrimp, and coffee are all major exports. And the country's location on the equator means growing seasons are essentially year-round. The investor visa in Ecuador is available starting from approximately $25,000. This means a $30,000 farmland purchase could potentially satisfy the investment threshold for the visa on its own, though requirements should be verified with current regulations, as these programs do get updated. The residency process typically involves proving the investment, providing standard background documentation, and working through Ecuador's immigration system, which, while not the fastest, is generally navigable with proper legal guidance. Living costs in Ecuador are among the lowest in Latin America. Cities like Cuenca and Loja have attracted large expat communities precisely because the cost of living runs between $800 and $1,400 per month for a comfortable lifestyle. Healthcare is affordable, and in major cities the quality is solid. The catch with Ecuador is bureaucracy. Government processes can be slow and unpredictable. Land purchases in rural areas require thorough due diligence because zoning laws, water rights, and access easements can create complications that are not immediately obvious. If planning to visit multiple countries while exploring options, a tool like Kiwi can be useful for finding affordable multi-city flight itineraries across South America. Now, the list leaves Latin America and moves to Europe, where 30K can still buy a shocking amount of farmland. North Macedonia is where this list takes a sharp turn into Europe. Most people do not even consider North Macedonia when thinking about farmland or residency, and that is precisely what makes it so interesting. Rural agricultural land in North Macedonia often costs between $1,000 and $3,000 per hectare. That means $30,000 can buy 10 to 30 hectares of land in a European country. Let that number sink in for a moment. 30 hectares in Europe for $30,000. North Macedonia is not in the European Union, which is actually part of its appeal for this specific strategy. It is a candidate country for European Union membership, which means it is actively working toward European Union standards and integration. But it does not yet have European Union level prices or European Union level bureaucracy around foreign property ownership. Residency is possible through business formation and investment. Setting up a local company and tying it to agricultural operations on purchased land can support a temporary residency permit, which can be renewed and eventually lead to longer-term status. The cost of living in North Macedonia is genuinely low by European standards. Skopje, the capital, is one of the most affordable capital cities on the continent. Monthly living costs for a single person range from $600 to $1,000. Rural areas are even cheaper. The country has decent internet infrastructure in and around cities, making it workable for remote professionals. The catch here is that the agricultural sector in North Macedonia is still developing. Markets for farm products are smaller than in Western Europe, and selling agricultural output may require creative approaches or export-oriented thinking. The language barrier in rural areas can also be significant. Legal processes exist for foreign property ownership, but they require a locally registered company in most cases, adding a layer of complexity. Could farmland actually be a smarter long-term investment than a city apartment? It is a question worth seriously considering, especially when looking at how urban real estate prices have surged, while productive agricultural land in many countries remains historically undervalued. Turkey. Turkey straddles two continents and offers one of the most compelling combinations of farmland affordability and market access on this entire list. Rural land in Turkey often runs between $5,000 and $10,000 per hectare, meaning $30,000 can buy 3 to 6 hectares. Turkey is an agricultural powerhouse. It is one of the world's largest producers of hazelnuts, figs, apricots, cherries, and tea, among dozens of other crops. The domestic market alone is enormous, with over 85 million people, and Turkey's geographic position provides access to European, Middle Eastern, and Central Asian markets. Residency options in Turkey include pathways through property ownership and demonstrating sufficient financial means. While the famous Turkish citizenship by investment program requires a much higher property purchase threshold, there are residency permit options that can be supported by property ownership, combined with proof of income or savings. The rules around Turkish residency permits have tightened in recent years, so current requirements should be verified before making any decisions. Living costs in Turkey vary widely. Istanbul is expensive by Turkish standards but still affordable compared to most European capitals. Smaller cities and rural areas offer remarkably low costs of living, often between $700 and $1,200 monthly. Turkish food is exceptional, healthcare is advanced and affordable, and the infrastructure across most of the country is well developed. The catch with Turkey is that the lira has experienced significant depreciation in recent years. This is actually what makes land so affordable in dollar terms right now, but it also means the economic environment carries uncertainty. Bureaucratic processes for foreigners can be time-consuming, and some agricultural zones near borders or military areas have restrictions on foreign ownership. For scouting trips across several of these countries, Saili eSIM is useful for staying connected without expensive roaming charges. The link below. Turkey has scale and market access, but the next country has timing, and that timing may not last. Albania is flying under the radar in a way that probably will not last much longer. This small Adriatic country has seen explosive tourism growth, European Union candidate status momentum, and rapidly increasing international attention. Agricultural land in Albania typically costs between $5,000 and $15,000 per hectare, putting $30,000 in the range of 2 to 6 hectares. The southern coast and central agricultural plains offer different opportunities depending on whether the focus is tourism-adjacent land or pure agricultural production. Albania does not have a formal golden visa program, but property ownership can support long-stay permit applications. The legal framework is evolving, and foreign buyers should work with experienced local counsel. The cost of living is one of the lowest in Europe, with monthly expenses for a single person running between $500 and $900 in most areas. The Adriatic coastline, mountain scenery, and Mediterranean climate make it an increasingly attractive lifestyle destination. The catch with Albania is that the legal system around property ownership has a complicated history. Title verification is absolutely critical, and some properties have overlapping claims dating back to the post-communist transition period. Infrastructure in rural areas can be limited, and while the country is developing rapidly, it is still in an earlier stage than many of its European neighbors. For anyone researching travel to Albania to explore options firsthand, checking accommodation deals through Expedia can help keep scouting trip costs manageable. Now here is the country that was teased earlier. the one with incredibly cheap farmland and one of the most business-friendly residency environments anywhere on the planet. Georgia, the country nestled between Europe and Asia, has become legendary in the expat and international diversification community, and for good reason. Farmland in Georgia can be extraordinarily affordable, with prices in many rural regions starting well below $1,000 per hectare. $30,000 can buy a significant agricultural property in regions like Kakheti, famous for wine production, or in the fertile Central Valleys. Georgia is one of the oldest winemaking regions in the world, with over 8,000 years of viticultural history, and its wine industry is booming internationally. The residency and business environment in Georgia is what truly sets it apart. Georgia is extremely business-friendly, but agricultural land ownership is the part that needs careful legal structuring. Foreigners may face restrictions on directly owning agricultural land, so the practical route may involve long-term leases, local company structures, or non-agricultural property paired with a business or investment residency strategy. The cost of living in Georgia is remarkably low. Tbilisi, the capital, offers a high-quality lifestyle at a fraction of the cost of most European cities. Monthly expenses between $700 and $1,100 are realistic for a comfortable life. Georgian cuisine is world-class, healthcare is affordable, and the expat community is large and well-established. The catch with Georgia is that rural infrastructure outside major cities can be underdeveloped. Agricultural operations may require significant upfront investment in equipment, irrigation, and road access improvements. The domestic market is small at around 3.7 million people, so export-oriented agricultural strategies are often more viable than purely local sales. Winters in some regions can be harsh, and the geopolitical situation in the broader Caucasus region requires awareness. For deeper residency breakdowns, farmland due diligence checklists, and updated country guides, Horizon Insider is linked below. Here is the real takeaway. Farmland is still one of the most overlooked residency assets in the world. While city apartments have exploded in price, productive rural land in countries like Paraguay, Ecuador, North Macedonia, Albania, and Georgia can still be surprisingly affordable. But 30K land only works when the legal structure works. Sometimes that means an investor visa. Sometimes it means a company. Sometimes it means proving genuine ties to the country. The mistake is buying cheap land first and figuring out the residency later. The smarter move is choosing the residency route first, then finding the land that supports it. So which country would you actually consider? Paraguay, Colombia, Ecuador, North Macedonia, Turkey, Albania, or Georgia? Drop it in the comments.